Hi, I'm Brian Hansel. I'm an outdoor photographer and outdoor photography educator. Today we're out in the boat shop and we're going to talk about what gear I bring to the boundary waters with me. So let's get started. So when you're traveling by canoe in the boundary waters, you're restricted by the amount of gear you can bring by how much the canoe can carry. So it might seem like a lot, but you're carrying all your camping gear in the canoe, camping gear for your paddling partner, in our case, camping gear for a kid. What I have to do is I have to fit all of my camera gear into this bag. So this is a bag by Watershed. It's completely waterproof, has a unique seal that's like a, like a zip tie almost, but completely waterproof. And there's a padded camera insert in there. So this is generally what I bring, is what you see in front of me. I'll describe what I have here. So the first thing that I usually bring is just a lightweight carbon fiber tripod. This particular one is made by Desmond. It's not my favorite. I want to replace it at some point. But I found a bargain ball head. So this is a Flashpoint F2. I'm not sure that they make it anymore because it's pretty old and I've used it on a lot of boundary waters trips. It's surprisingly robust for the size, and it was relatively inexpensive. So that's something that I will keep when I replace this tripod. I'd like to get something just about a pound lighter. But the nice thing about this one is when it's fully extended, it does get pretty high. So there's the full extension on the legs, and so we're about at chest level height when it's extended. Not too shabby for 4 pounds of weight. This one doesn't get put in this bag. Obviously, it's too big for that bag. It goes on the side of one of our portage packs. So that's the tripod that I always bring. So the next thing that we'll talk about are the cameras that I bring. So the first one that I'm going to bring is this is the Nikon Z50, which is their mirrorless system. And I have an FTZ adapter, which is their adapter that adapts the Z system to the old F-mount lenses. And this lens right here is an AFP 70-300, 4.5 to 5.6. So it's a telephoto lens, good quality, super lightweight. This pair feels good in the hands. It's great for having ready in the canoe in case you see any wildlife or you want to photograph something in the distance. And the body is small and light, so it's a nice backup to bring with you. So sometimes I will skip bringing the Z50 and I'll bring a Z6 instead. Particularly got a modified infrared Z6 that I like to bring, but I might bring a straight Z6. But generally, recently in the last couple trips since the Z50 has come out and since I've gotten one, just been carrying this. I love this little camera. It's a great little camera. So the next camera that I bring is a Nikon Z7. I have a L bracket on there to mount to the tripod head. And I usually have the 14-30 Z lens on there. So it's a wide angle zoom. It's my primary lens for landscape. So when I'm traveling in the canoe, I got a wide ready, and I also have a telephoto ready. For lenses, what I end up bringing, the first one is the kit lens that came with the Z50. So this is a 16-50 3.5-6.3. It's actually really surprisingly sharp and incredibly small. So when I want to switch the 70-300 to my Z7 to get a little bit more resolution out of the picture, I'll take this and I'll use it as a body cap or just a cover to cover the sensor on the Z50. So that's a great lens to bring along. I also bring along the 24-70 f4, which is the kit lens that came with the Z7. This is a super sharp, great lens, very few flaws, and it's lightweight. And it's very compact, so you can see that it's very small. It does extend out when you're using it, but it's small to carry. Depending on the trip, I'm going to bring a 105 macro lens. So this is the old Nikon 105 2.8 macro lens. This has to use the FTZ adapter to mount to the camera because Nikon doesn't have their Z-mount version of this lens out yet. When they do, I'll change that over. The other lens that I like to bring is a 20 millimeter, a fast 20 millimeter. So this is a 21 millimeter f1.8, and this is just for the night sky, generally speaking. So this is a Voigtlander. But you know, if I had the Z 20 millimeter f1.8, that's what I would bring with me. But this is what I have. It's a decent enough lens. The corners aren't as good, but it's okay. Generally speaking, that's what I'm going to bring for the digital interchangeable lens cameras. There is one other camera, or two other cameras that I like to bring. The first is an Insta360 1R. With this attachment right here, I can have a 360-degree video camera and still camera, but you can put different attachments on it. Right now I have a 1-inch sensor attachment on it, and it just acts like an action camera. Sometimes I'll bring it, sometimes I won't. When I do bring this, there's an extra battery here, and I generally just bring the 360 attachment instead of the 1-inch. And there's a protected cover. It does screw onto a selfie stick, so you can take the selfie stick, extend that out, and you get some pretty good distance. It's kind of fun to hold this out in the canoe and get a picture of you back. You can show the 360. And I have a little tripod on the bottom of that as well, so that it can set up somewhere. I don't have to hold it all the time. So get some unique photos out of that setup there. So this camera I actually don't pack inside the Watershed bag. I put it in a Pelican case. And this, surprisingly to me, this camera gets the most usage. I wasn't sure when I got it if I was going to use it all the time, but I've fallen in love with it. And it's probably one of my favorite cameras I've ever owned. And this is the Ricoh Gr3, so a lot of street photographers use this. It's just a very small camera. The equivalent of a 28 millimeter lens is what's on it. So it's just the perfect camera for having in a pocket, going across a portage, just having ready to go in the canoe. It captures a lot of detail. It's good for family photos. It has a macro mode that you can go in and get details. Downside, battery life is not that good, so always have another battery ready for it. And you can charge it right in the field if you have the right equipment. And to charge all of this equipment, I generally, if on the longer trips, I'll bring a power bank. So this is one of the bigger power banks you can get. So 26,000 mAh on it. It's by Rav Power. I have a bunch of different cords. Each of these cords can connect into a different camera and charge that camera. So most all cameras are USB-C now, but unfortunately the Z50 is a old micro USB instead of USB-C. I don't understand that choice. Charge me $5 more and put the better one in there. In addition to the power bank, I bring multiple batteries. So generally speaking, I plan to bring 2 of these for, and these are for the Z7, bring 2 batteries for every 3 days is generally what I go through on a high photo trip. If it's just kind of a more fun family trip than a photo-orientated trip, generally get 2 to 3 days out of a battery. The Z50 takes a different battery, so of course you got to bring it, and then you'll see right here, if I'm bringing the Insta360, there's a battery, extra battery there. So lots of extra batteries. I know a lot of people like to bring solar panels and that kind of thing into the Boundary Waters, but that's just a big hassle to deal with. So just bringing a power bank, extra batteries will get you through it. And just plan, figure out how much you shoot a day, figure out how many batteries you're going to need in order to shoot that many shots, and then bring that many batteries, or bring that many batteries plus the power bank, and then you'll get through it just fine. So the other thing I bring is extra memory cards. So in here I have a bunch of XQD cards and Compact Flash Express cards. That goes into the Z7. And then I have some SD cards which go into the Z50 and the Ricoh Gr3. And then the Insta360 just takes a micro USB, and I have a 120 gigabyte card in there, so I'm just not going to use it that much, that even on like a 2-week trip that I would fill that, unless I was filming video with it, then that might be a different story, and I would bring those extra cards along for the video. As far as accessories, what I bring is I bring some extension tubes. So extension tubes can turn any lens into a macro lens. So if I don't want to bring my heavy macro lens with me, then I can bring the extension tubes. I generally bring them both. I bring a lens pen for cleaning lenses and filters, and I also bring a bunch of cleaning gear within a bag. So in here I have a blower bulb for cleaning the sensor, so you just open up the camera and spray. I have some lens cleaning wipes from Zeiss. I have microfiber cloth. And then if I do get a lot of dirt on my sensor, I bring a sensor brush. So this works off of static electricity. You wipe it across the sensor and it pulls most of the dust off. If I have a really hard to get piece of dust, I hate using this thing, but it's a sensor pen by Lens Pen. And it can, if you're very, very delicate and careful with it, you can move a stubborn piece of dust. Generally, I don't have to use that. I think I've used that once in the last year or so. Have this all in a bag from Exped that is somewhat waterproof, but this is going to go in there anyways. So I bring a camera strap, and these just, it's a quick release system, so it just clips in like this. So you're good to go. And then I also have these little fobs that it clips into on the Watershed bag in case I want to go on a hike to to a waterfall, which is something we did. We did about a 3-mile round trip to a waterfall this last trip. And I use this as a shoulder bag by bringing the extra shoulder strap and having those fobs on there. So I do use a lot of filters. So I'm a Stingray ambassador, so I use Stingray filters. And you need a way to hold them onto the lens, and right now I've been trying this K&F Concept filter holder. They sent me it for trial for review, and I like it a lot. One minor issue, if you accidentally push that, the whole filter can come right off the camera, so you got to be very careful. Other than that, it's really smooth to use and comes with all the rings that you would need. So it's a pretty solid filter holder, other than it can come off if you accidentally hit that button. But I've been using it. And I have adapters to go on the 2470 and the 14 to 30. Additionally, I only carry 82 millimeter threaded filters with me when I'm on the trip, so I'm going to bring step-up rings for that, for each of those lenses that I'm using. I'm going to just keep that in the front of this pouch. This is a Mind Shift pouch. I've been using it. I haven't decided if this is a pouch that I'm going to keep on using, but I'm trying it out. In the back of it, if my filters get stuck, I have these filter wrenches. And inside, I'm carrying quite a bit of filterage. So the first couple filters that I'm carrying are polarizers. So this is the Stingray LB Neutral polarizer in 82 millimeters. And then the other polarizer that I'm going to bring with me is the Brian Hansel waterfall polarizer by Stingray. This is for shooting waterfalls. If I don't intend to shoot any waterfalls or rapids, I might leave this at home, but generally speaking, it's one of my favorite filters out there. Not just because it has my name on it, but because I love what it does. For other filters, I'm going to bring several ND Grad filters. So the one that I use quite a bit is the 3-stop reverse ND Grad. So split in the center, clear on the bottom, dark on the top. You put the dark part over the sky, clear part over the ground, and it evens out the exposure between the sky and the ground. The other one I'm going to bring is a soft, so it looks like this, but the transition's slightly different. And then depending on the trip, I might bring some ND, some solid ND filters. So this is a 5-stop. I also have a 10-stop that I'll bring. And then depending on the trip, I might bring other ND Grads along with me. But generally speaking, in the boundary waters, the 3-stop reverse and a 2-stop soft work pretty well. And that's all you usually need out there. All right, now for the fun part. Let's pack it all up into the different components. So all the batteries, extra spare batteries, I keep in a granite geared zippered stuff sack. I love this little thing. It's perfect for batteries. So every battery that I'm going to pack away just goes right in there. And we're going to put this in last. And generally this power bank, I don't carry this with me in the Watershed bag. There's no reason to get it during the day, so this goes into the portage packs. So the first thing I like to do for this bag is I'll just slide everything out of the way here. Is I'll put the filter holder in, and you can see it's quite roomy in this bag. It's surprisingly big. So I just got to take the filters, put them in the end. There's a lot of padding in there, so I'm not too worried about it. Take my spare lens, and that goes into a slot that's perfectly padded. It's just like a camera bag where you have the different dividers, the padded dividers, and I've just Velcroed them in the way that I want to use it. So another lens is just going to go in there. If I'm bringing my macro, I'll take that macro lens and pop that into it. I got dividers right now on the setup for 4 different lenses. So then I take my remaining small lens and I put it in there, and the extension tubes go in as well. So next I'll take my memory cards, and I like to put that over by the filter holder, so it just kind of sits on the bottom of the pack in the filter holder. You know, you could put it in, if you're feeling paranoid that you would lose that out of here when you open it, I don't know how you would, but you could throw it in the battery case. And so I have the padded dividers also have a flap over the top, so it will go over top of the lenses. And I just put my batteries right on the top of the spare lenses. Don't need to get those very often. I take my lens pen, put it into with the cleaners, and then I'll stuff that back in there over top of the other lenses. So generally, I'm going to put my strap on the outside, just so it's easy to carry across portages. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load the cameras. So we first put in the long lens, although it doesn't really matter what direction you put it in. And then I'm going to take my other camera with the short lens and put that in there as well. Oops, we left the filter holder out of the bag, so that would go in that bag. So we'll just stuff that in there. Shutter release cord just goes over top of my Z7 because it's generally plugged into the Z7, and that's what the camera I use it with. If I'm carrying the Insta360, I can carry it in here, but that's a little less convenient than just having it out in the boat strapped to one of the other packs. But you can put it in there. We'll just put this in here. And this would be the spare lens for the Insta360. I would probably just bring this one, not the one that's on the camera currently. And voila, after everything's in there, I'm just going to zip this up, this little closure up. You want to leave like a little bit of an air space so you can just squeeze some of the air out of there. It makes it easier to close. And voila, there's our stuff. This clips into the side, clips in the side there. There's a strap that comes over the top that clips the top down. Clips this side down, and then we have a handle that Velcros together on the top. Voila. I don't know how much this weighs, but it weighs a ton. So here's all my camera gear packed up, ready for the Boundary Waters, in the Watershed bag, the tripod, and then we have the Ricoh in the Pelican case. And that's it. So thanks for listening to me today. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, hopefully you'll just hit the subscribe button and subscribe. So thanks for listening. We'll see you later.